it's Amelie. Today we're going to practice the second and third movement of Mozart's G major concerto. So it's just practicing with Amelie, and it's a live stream. So if you have any comments, you can leave them right now and I will answer them during the live stream. And so I think I'm gonna start. I didn't warm up yet, so I'm gonna play a couple of notes. Okay, maybe I would like to practice with my tuner. Here's my metronome. Okay. I'll just start. So this is a slow movement, adagio ma non troppo, so adagio but not too much. So it's pretty slow. Okay. I think what's interesting in that piece is the appoggiatura. So the notes that are not part of the chord but are going to resolve on the next note. So let's say let's say the last note that I just played at 19. So you have A and G sharp. If I look at the score, second movement, let's measure 19. So here you have B minor and then, okay, you have an E major, but there's two appoggiaturas both on the orchestra and on the flute. So that note, the A, has to be a bit more, not accentuated, but a bit heavier, and then it resolves on the next note. And you have that a lot, those types of things here. You have that at 16 with that trill. You have those types of things a lot. Then the other thing that's interesting is the long, the big intervals. So those big intervals, if you play them very expressively, it's more interesting. So those are places where you can really be expressive. And of course you have notes that are more important, that are more the skeleton of the piece, and some notes are more just passing notes, and it's a lot about that. And if that conception of the piece is clear in your mind, it should be easier to play. And also try to remember to play it so that it feels that it's going forward, that it's not staying in place. Like, let's say I play the first phrase and I play it really like too much in one spot instead of going forward. That would sound like this. You know, I play every note pretty much the same importance. You know, I give almost every note the same importance, and I tend to accentuate every 8th note, and that makes it heavier. So if you think of 4 beats instead of 8 beats, already you get more of a sense of horizontality and moving forward in your phrasing. Yeah, okay. I'm gonna play a little bit more, and I'm gonna sing in my flute just to see if I can make my sound a bit more round today. And now without singing. Okay, that was helpful. Also, the first note, it's easy to crack. Make sure the air is ready in the back, the tongue is there, and go. You just remove the tongue and the air comes out. Like the pressure is always already built up in the back. I'll just do that again. And you know it's piano, but it's not a piano that is too discreet because you're playing with an orchestra. You're the soloist, so you still have to be present, even though the color is more soft. Okay, I'm gonna go from 22 now. A choice, huh, really, to do it like this?
As far as I know.
Yeah, okay. I think I'll start it a bit slowly so it seems a bit faster at the end.
Somebody asked, what's the reason behind singing the notes into the flute? I'm curious about that as a technique.
Okay, so the reason why I do it is because it helps with having a nicer sound. Because
what's that?
Because the
singing in the flute, right?
Yeah, singing in the flute. The reason why I do it is because it helps with having a nicer sound, more centered sound, and the theory behind it is that if your throat is aligned to play a certain note, then you're going to resonate with your flute on the same note, and it's going to sound better because you use your resonators. So you're more in sync with your flute, really, and then it sounds better. So I'm going to go from 26. Okay. So what else did I want to say? Yeah, even if it's a slow movement, there's a lot of accidentals. Take your time to learn it, and also try to try to group notes. I know I say that all the time, but like, let's say just here it was a chromatic scale. If you know it's a chromatic scale and you've practiced your chromatic scales, then this is pretty easy, you know. And of course, when you're gonna learn it, maybe you'll start by putting the metronome per 8 note, and it's fine. And then at one point, you should be able to either, what you could do, you could let's say that's 80, okay? But I can still subdivide, that's my subdivision here on my metronome, but I can still feel the quarter note. So I can go you see, because you always hear or feel your subdivisions when you play, but the pulse that you choose will give a different phrasing. And if you feel like this, you're gonna accentuate too many notes, and it's gonna feel more vertical and less linear. Any question?
Somebody asked, do you play piccolo? If so, do you have any beginners for piccolo? But you're not playing it right now, but yeah.
I play the piccolo, yeah. Beginners for piccolo, what do you mean?
Like any tips for a beginner?
Oh, we have a video about starting on the piccolo. You can watch it.
We'll do it just practicing.
And yeah, soon I'll do it just practicing on the piccolo. Maybe I should do that Vivaldi.
Yeah.
That's asked for auditions a lot. I might do that. Okay, 28. Maybe maybe I was a bit slow.
Just a tiny bit.
I'll try with the metronome from where I am. Okay, so you see here you have a 30-second note. So what I do is I subdivide. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, da 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, da 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 da. Okay, so counting in your head can be a good way to make sure you're in the right spot on that note. You don't do it too early or too late. Whoops, forgot a sharp here. Oh, what have I done? I wrote a natural. So if I make a mistake, I just write it down right away. I don't think, next time I'll think about it, because I'd rather not make the same mistake 3, 4, 5 times. That's interesting with the metronome, because I see where I tend to slow down. Another thing that I might do is play the whole thing with the metronome, and then after that, not take the metronome, but record myself and then check if I was slowing down too much. It's okay to slow down a bit, but if you slow down the whole way through, it becomes a bit boring for the audience. From 34. So here, I didn't do the C sharp like this after the trill. I just kept my 3 fingers here. It's easier because then I'm going back to the D. So I go D, E, and then I remove those 2. I do C sharp and I come back to the D. And you see on the A, I started a bit slow. No, a bit soft and without vibrato, and then I started doing a little crescendo and adding vibrato because it's a long note. You want to make it interesting, even though there's stuff going on with the orchestra as well, but I'll try again. So I decided to put my pinky on that A because it sounds a bit more open, the A with the pinky here, look. And then I do the G sharp, so I'm more sure I'm not going. Instead of moving 2 fingers, I just move 1. There's less risk of a note in between, you know. So I'll just write pinky here, just so I remember to put it there. And also crescendo, then I start vibrating, but then I stop vibrating when I get on the first beat of the bar. So it gives an impression that the note is a little bit longer, even if it's not. I think it's interesting. So upbeat of just before 45. I'll do that again. I didn't like that G. I thought we didn't hear the tonguing. It's a bit fast, or it's boring if you don't like. It's okay to practice with a metronome, but I'm gonna redo that ending without it from 48. And then you have a cadence, a cadenza that you can write, or in most editions there's one already and you practice it. Cadenzas, you can use a lot of rubato. Usually start a phrase very slowly and then go faster and then go slower. And yeah, so it sounds a bit flashy. It's a part to flash. It's a part where the soloist plays without the orchestra. It used to be improvised. Some musicians still improvise them. A lot of people compose them. So yeah. So I'm gonna do the end at 59. Mm-mm-mm. At the end, in my music, it's slurred, but I think I prefer it not slurred. And here, the last G, I will not tongue it. I'll go da 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 da, da all slurred at 61. So I think it's a beautiful piece of music. It has something romantic to it, even though it's classical era. But I think it's very expressive, and you can have a lot of fun playing it. If I had my tuner, I don't know where I put it. I might want to practice it with it once, to see the tendencies, and then practicing with a metronome is a good idea, but not always, because you also want to be a bit free with the tempo, not feel rushed, and listen to different versions. You can even play with those versions, so you get used to the orchestral part, and also sometimes it's helpful for the musicality. So any question about that movement? No? Let's do the third movement. So rondo, 3 beats per measure. So it's really important to accentuate the first beat of the bar, but I think some bars are even going towards other bars. So like for me, that first bar, it's not da 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 da. It's really as if that bar was an upbeat to the next bar, the first beat of the so it's as if every 2 bars it's really the downbeat for me. So I'm gonna try it a little bit because I haven't played that in a long time. I think I learned it because I have things written in my music, but I don't remember when. Okay, so when you have those things at 6 and 7, and those are examples of notes that are not part of the chord, or notes that are just are appoggiaturas, so you have to accentuate those notes. You wanted to ask me something? Okay, I'll just see one. Sorry. Yeah, so my thing of every 2 bar kind of works there. So if you say that the important beat is on the 2nd, then 4th, 6th, 8th, and 10th bar, I think it's really helpful to go bum. I'll do it again. And I think it's a good way to play it. Any question?
No.
And also make those staccato bouncy, and almost a bit nervous. Ta-di-ta-ta-ta-ta. So you have a good difference between the legato and the staccato. Okay, 36. your scales. So you have G major and you have D major scales. And then that's mostly it. If you practice that, you should be not too bad. And then you have a B minor at the end. Or you can just think you're in in D major still and just have a semitone somewhere. I'm gonna do it with a metronome once slowly, and also practice your double tonguing in there. You can also practice the double tonguing upside down, so kata instead of taka. I'm gonna try that once. Okay, and another thing I just noticed, I had an idea. Oh yeah, you have a lot of not anacros, but how do you call that? You know, when you start on the upbeat and you finish on the downbeat.
Anacrusis?
No, that's just when I said it's not. Okay, I'll find the word. It's somewhere in my head. You have a lot of that, and those rhythms have to be accentuated. So it's ta 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 ga da ga da ga da ga da ga da bum, and those accents are on low notes. So make sure you're not trying too hard, because sometimes people try too hard to get the low notes out, and then they block the flute usually because they go like this. First it goes low. No. First you go too low, and then also sometimes the sound doesn't come out because you're not in the right angle anymore. So don't change the angle of the air.
Ictus or octus?
No. Let's just call it an upbeat. But okay. So it's okay. So I think it's clear. And yeah, so let's say here at 38 you go. You see, I don't go like this. I keep the hole here open. I don't cover it. And it's mainly about airspeed. You want to go lower, you send slower air. And we have a video about going from high to low. Maybe that would be a good idea to listen to it for those types of little things. Okay, 47. So you hear those so whenever you have those types of two notes slurred, especially if it starts on the first beat, it's really the first one is louder than the second one. Yeah.
Someone noticed a big jump from the higher register to the lower register. Do you have any tips for doing that?
Yeah, I just gave it.
Oh, you just did? Good. I'm trying.
Yeah, but what was the end of the question?
I tend to lose all tone quality and even sound when having to jump that far.
Yeah. So for jumping from high to low, I said first listen to our video about that. Right. But second, don't go like this and lower your head, because usually when we lower our head, we leave the flute the same way and then we cover the hole with our head. If you're moving, just make sure that everything is moving together. That you're not moving, let's say, your head up and then uncovering and moving your head down and then covering more. If it's in one angle, that's the right angle for you. Just move like that all the time, like one block. I don't know if that's clear.
Yeah,
but
she answered. Yeah, she answered. Yeah, he said you answered him.
Yeah. I'm not sure where I was. Okay. I'll go from 60 because, yeah, I explained the thing with the appoggiatura there, and I'll go from 60. I wrote some things that are a bit, I'm not gonna say stupid, but yes. Because I wrote some tenutos in my music, but it's so fast that it's just gonna make it difficult. I think it's not helping me. I'll practice it once, slurred by two. So here what I do is I open in the back of my mouth. Da, da, da. I'll do kata now. And now, the real thing. I like giving a bit more importance to those high notes and go daga 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 daga. That's nice. Okay, let's go from just after that 71 or 70. So I did the F sharp like this, but I could do it like that. I don't know. I'll try both. I like it with the middle finger for that. Usually I always use the real fingering, but here it's fast and it's almost not a trill, but you know, almost like a little ornament. And this way you're sure not to get any tone in between. Okay, so here, first thing, when you have that type of rhythm where you start on the second 16th note of the beat, start with ka. Kata 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 kata. So your ta is always on the beginning of the beat, or on the first and third 16th notes. So kata 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 ta kata 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 kata. So like that.
Herman is here and says hi.
Oh, hi Herman, I miss you. It's been a while. Okay, so I'll go from the same spot. I think I'll work a little bit on those scales. So what you could do is just practice them as scales going up and down. When, yeah, and then it's the same. So I don't like that taha kata. I'll go taha taha. I think it's better. Slurred to slurred. Yeah, I'll go from there. And I like when the second one is almost like an echo of the first one. Da 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 da. And I don't know why now it's again taha taka taha taka, just taha taha the whole way through. I don't see why we would change that. So really here what we hear is okay. So we have a little variation on that theme. Instead of ti, you have ti da di da. So what speed am I playing this at? I think that's a good speed, huh? Yeah, 116. Because it's a tempo diminuito. It was supposed to be danced, so it's not too fast either. So 107. Just want to check something here quickly. Okay. No question?
No, everyone likes it.
Okay.
They say your phrasing advice is gold.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so here you are in minor. So you were in G major in the beginning and now you're in E minor. And so it's completely different. Yeah, so a bit more sad or melancholic or dramatic. I don't know. The beginning is more nervous, I think. Okay. Maybe I would do it a bit softer there. I don't know. I'm gonna try. I try to go soft, but sometimes I go a bit almost like like you have an emotion, big emotion, but you don't really want to show it. You're kind of trying to be discreet about it, but then it comes back up. I think I'm gonna try to play it a bit like that.
You didn't play a cadenza in the other one, did you?
No, I didn't play it.
And do you have any favorite cadenzas, or you're gonna play one? Or mom wants to know.
No. I used to compose my own, and I might do a video about how to create your own cadenza. Like there's little rules that are pretty easy. And yeah. There's some in my edition, but mainly you use little motives when you want to compose your own cadenza. You use some motives from the piece, and you go on the dominant chord, and then you come back with that trill. It's not very complicated. People used to improvise them. I should try to improvise one. Put myself in a vulnerable position here. Okay, as if it was not vulnerable enough to practice in front of everyone. Okay, so I'm gonna go from 114. I'm gonna remove stuff from my stand because my stand is going down. And it's too low. Okay. And you see at 114 you still have that same, with the first one's louder than the second one. And if you do those types of things, the expressivity of your playing will skyrocket just by little details like that. Articulation and knowing which notes are more important and less important, it's really, I don't know, like I'm not going to say a percentage, but it's a big part of being expressive when you play. It's rare that we hear the harmonic minor like that. It's nice. So I think I would give a little bit of importance to that C natural there. Wait. That's very nice. So you see those forte piano, I think they're very interesting, very expressive. They keep the auditor on the edge of his seat because they're on the second beat. You know, everything's usually on the first beat and you get ta-na. But he likes to do those little things because he will put very important notes on the upbeat of the first beat and things like that. So he likes being a bit out of balance. So that's nice. Okay, where was I? 131. Looks like we're in C major now for a little while. It's probably just like a little bridge going back to G major a bit further away. I don't know. No, then yeah, maybe. I wrote accents there. I think it's, or a teacher wrote that. No. I think it's more. I think it's really like on 131 you have that first note and then 2 bars later same thing, but it's something that goes from there and then dissipates a little bit. No. And here I'll do ta 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 ta. It's easier than ta 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 ta, and then it really makes that B flat stand out. So you're in mixed mode. You go from G major, G minor. It's interesting. Yeah, so in that part, it's kind of going back, but it goes through different keys. C major, and then A minor, and then back to G major, and then G minor. It's interesting. So really try to see those little differences and make them stand out. You know, oh, here I have a B flat. Oh, here I have a G sharp, you know.
Do you find that when you play Mozart now, how different you played it 10 years ago?
Oh, yeah. So the question is, do I find the way I play Mozart now different from 10 years ago? And yes, I play differently. I think I'm not as stressed about. First thing is, I had people tell me things about Mozart that were very stressful. Oh, Mozart is like a pearl necklace breaking in a staircase. I was like, I have to play like a pearl necklace breaking in a staircase. For me, like, it's so delicate, it's so this, it's so that. I don't think Mozart is that delicate. I think it has parts where it is. I think it also has a lot of character. It's like opera. um I don't know, maybe, people use images that help them. Sometimes they can make you feel almost, how would I say that, paralyzed. And I don't know, I think sometimes we see those great geniuses of music as very intimidating, and with time I just do my best to play the music the best I can, and be expressive. And Mozart is a very expressive composer, and so I try to play a bit like an opera. Like, it's very imaginative, so you can be creative. And I think when you get more creative, the stress and the pressure lowers a little bit. And I think we should look at composers as our peers, even if we're not at the same level as them musically, even if I don't compose much. I can still approach his music with a peer mentality instead of the idea that I'm just this little thing that cannot really understand. And this way I can be more creative and more calm about it, more happy, and my energy is in something more positive. Yeah. And I try not to overthink things anymore, just because Mozart's music is pretty simple. It goes up and you go with the phrase, and then it goes down. It's very well written, so you just follow that phrase. And yeah, maybe I'm too long. I'll continue playing. Was that helpful? Yeah? Cool. So I think I was at 154. Okay. So that sounds almost like a Carnival of Venice or something. So it's really the low note that's important here. Yeah. And you have to do the triple tonguing in a ta 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 ta. You can do ta 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 ta. I do triple. It's easier for me. I think I'll breathe more. So at the end I was a bit out of breath. And I don't know if I was too fast or too slow. Oh, it was pretty much that. And then here there's a cadence. Let's see. And then I continue. So here you have those little rests. Be careful not to slow down during those rests. Almost think of it as putting a note in the rest in your head so it moves on. I'm talking about those those 8 rests here at 169, 170, and 171.
Herman said, I needed to hear that. I don't need to spend 2 hours on 4 measures trying to get the phrasing right. Herman said, I needed to hear that. I don't need to spend 2 hours on 4 measures trying to get the phrasing right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's a nice comment saying you don't need to spend 2 hours on 4 measures to get it right. No.
You're smart.
You just need to have that follow your instinct, really, because that music is talking to every one of us. We feel the music inside of us, and sometimes we try to intellectualize things too much when really we just have to connect with our bodies, because music and dancing are so close. And if you read about Dalcroze, or if you learn Dalcroze, which is Dalcroze is a very interesting way of learning music through rhythm. Not only rhythm, there's a big part that is about harmonic learning, but it all comes back to the body. And so let's say you want to work on a phrase, you could tap the rhythm while you sing it. You could take a scarf and, you know, take your scarf. Let's say I take a tissue here, or here. I make a, that's an old pillowcase that I used a lot, and that's not good anymore, but now I'm gonna make flute, little rags for my flute because it's so soft now. Little trick. So let's say you want to do it, you could use that and go the whole phrase. Tum bum bum. So you can feel that long phrase, you know, or you can dance it, you can make long movements, you can just clap the rhythm, you can walk on the rhythm. It's all about feeling it. And by doing that, you put it back where it belongs, in the body, because it's a very physical experience.
Yeah. Do you sit or stand while playing the flute, and what do you prefer? You can repeat the question.
So do I sit or stand while playing, and what do I prefer? I do both, but when I practice, I like to practice sitting down, because I'm lazy. No, I don't know. I'm comfortable sitting down. But when I practice, when I perform as a soloist or chamber, it depends. Chamber music, if I play with string players, I'm going to sit down. It all depends. If I play with piano, I'm going to stand. So when I practice performing it, because there's two types of practice. There's when you learn the piece, and then where you practice to play it in concert. So when I practice to play in concert, I try to practice the same way that I'm going to do it in concert. So I'm going to stand if I'm going to perform it standing. But I think both are good. I used to think only practicing standing was good. But then I realized when I play in orchestra and a lot of chamber music, we play sitting down. So if I'm comfortable sitting down and I can practice longer without getting tired, why not? Okay, I continue. 180. You still have that that upbeat rhythm here. That was not nice. I'll do that again. That E. I'm gonna blow it this way a bit, the E. Yeah, and I'm gonna write to vibrate a bit on that high D because it's nicer. Okay. usually I would have to practice that again, but I'm getting a bit tired, so I'm going to continue. I could practice it with rhythms, different articulations, with a metronome slowly and then increase it. And also when I practice, I don't always start from the beginning. So sometimes you can start with the end. So this thing that's happening to me right now, you know, it's normal. So sometimes you start by the end, or sometimes maybe I would stop here and just write it down and next time go from there. So now I'm going to do from 218. I think I'm going to slur the two first, the two high notes. Okay. I'll do two slurred, two tongued here. Okay. And then here I think I'm gonna go just to make it different. So I slur the bottom notes, but I detach the top notes. I was talking about 226 when I was saying I slurred the bottom note and I detached the top notes. But I'm gonna start from 222. That sounds weird, but it's what it is. I think it sounds better when I slur the first three of each bar. First beat of the bar. Yeah. Tam pam pam pa da ta ta ha ha ta ka ta ta ha ha ta ka ta. No. Yeah, so maybe I'll try to vibrate those long notes so it sounds more, I don't know, better, because it sounded a bit chopped. Not sure about the speed. So here, that's like an up, a whole up to that yum, pum, pum, because you're going back to the... I wonder what's going on there with the orchestra, because I wrote ritardendo, but I don't know how the orchestra would pick that up, and what's going on there. 240. Because I'm not sure I still agree with that idea. I think we could go just... Because there's no orchestra during 240. It's just the flute. And then the orchestra comes on 241. But it could be... And they... Instead of... No, I think I would go through. Of course, if I played with an orchestra and the conductor said, we can't be together if you play like that, please, I would adapt, you know. But I think it's nice to just go through it. What's going on here? Oh. at 242, I'll slur the first two notes because just 2 bars after, he wrote it as an appoggiatura, which is slurred, so it sounds better like that anyways. And here really vibrate that high note. I think it's the highest note we've played since the beginning, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like our climax just here. Yeah. So I'll even write here, climax, to make sure I put the energy there. Oh, I think I'll start a bit slow, a bit, not slow, but lower, a bit softer, and here louder. But very nervous. So you see, when you have a not beat like that, it doesn't feel the same. It's da 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 da. It feels like you're never really sitting, you know, you're always on one leg. And it's really different from da 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 da. So those things, feeling them is what's gonna really make it interesting. So you can practice it. You go da 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 da, and you see when you do downbeat, upbeat. So you just start on the up. Da da da, and then you try to really da 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 da, really feel it. Where was I? 265. No. So here you have some chromaticism and then not anymore. So just be careful there to group the notes correctly. I'll put the metronome. It's a bit weird there. I don't like the slurs that are in my music. Tahataka. I'll do tahataka, tahataka, tadam, tada, 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 tada. Slurred by 2. I'll try that. You know, if there's a part that you feel, I don't feel it, try to figure out why. Maybe you don't understand the rhythm, but maybe it's just a question like here for me, the slurs that were written in that edition didn't work with me. So I just changed them to make it easier for me to play the phrase. And that part I would have to practice because it's a bit tricky. So I think I'm done.
Cool.
Any question?
Yeah, somebody wants to know, do you have any videos on fingering practices? I struggle to get my fingers to work together sometimes.
So videos about fingering practices.
Maybe like Machiavellian and fingers like that, like
I don't have any videos. I could think of some. I have a video about like getting a faster technique and I talk about rotation because I really believe in that. It's a technique that I've learned in piano. It's not a flute technique. I've never heard a flutist teaching that way, but it really it's a flute technique now. But I just took it from pianists. So sometimes they do this because the fingers, how would I say that? Very simply, this movement you don't get tired, you know. And let's say you want to lift your fourth finger, it's very difficult. Let's say you want to do a trill from D to E. If you think of lifting the finger, you might get tired and it might be very slow. But if you think of rotating your arm like this, I can do that for a long time and I don't get tired. And just because I do this, coming from here, coming from my whole arm, coming from the elbow, instead of just a finger trying to work on its own. So there's that. If you have difficulty changing fingerings and stuff like that, I don't know what's your level. Sometimes I tell my students to just practice the fingerings without playing and looking at their fingers, because in the beginning you don't see your fingers. Sometimes it's difficult. So just like this, you put your flute on your leg and you practice like that. And then also practice scales and practice, you know, in Tafanel and Gobert, the first exercise, EJ1, and just do one line a week or 2 lines a week to begin with. So you do it so many times that it becomes very easy. And then when it's very easy, you go to the next one. It doesn't even need to be perfect, because once you're comfortable with it, maybe you'll go 1 page per week. And then you increase like that. And at one point, you'll be able to play the whole exercise without effort very fast. But go by little increments. And those types of exercises are good because you repeat the same thing a lot and then it becomes natural. You can't expect your brain to be able to get everything at once, you know? If you want things to become natural, you have to pick less and do it well and then build onto that. And it goes faster in the end. It seems like it's going to take forever, but in reality, if you do it like that, it takes less time. It's more efficient.
Why does the half note, or why does C sharp sound so strange on my flute? That sounds crazy on all flutes.
Yeah, C sharp is the second octave. C sharp is too high, but if you go to the third octave, I think it's too low. And practice with a tuner, and you'll figure out like what are the tendencies of your flute and how to correct them. And it's normal. The flutes are not perfect. Also, maybe check your cork, see if it's well aligned. Do we have a video about that, aligning your cork and stuff like that?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Head joint flute. If you type head joint TFC flute.
Head joint TFC flute.
If you feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, or go to a shop and they can check it for you and adjust it for you, the cork. Because if the cork is not in the right spot, then the flute will be out of tune with itself. And so maybe you should check that.
I think that's everything. Oh, wait a second. Nope, I think we're good. Cool.
Cool. So I hope this was helpful. If you're looking for a flute teacher, I give Skype lessons. Or if you're in the Montreal region, you can do it in person. Well, I mean, like next to each other, not online. You can email us at info@theflutechannel.com and we'll give you all the info about that. If you're looking for getting a new flute, you can go to the Flute Center of New York. They have a large selection, and use our code TFC, and that helps us out. And it gives you perks as well. Also, you can go on our Patreon and be a patron. We have more and more patrons, thanks to everyone. And this gives you some perks, like you have access to our live podcast every month. And also there's different tiers. You can look at that and see what's interesting for you. And we have the Flute Con soon. And so where do people... FluteCon.com, and then we'll send you all the information if you register there. It's going to be in August. It's an online convention. It's a bit like a master class online, so you can learn from others and you can also play for me. And it's very open. You can play a piece, but we can also just work on an aspect of flute playing, like playing high notes or playing double tonguing or whatever. And we can also do studies or excerpts, whatever you feel like you want to learn. We'll do it, and it's always interesting for everyone to be a part of it because we learn so much from each other.
Yeah, it's gonna be a whole flute day event.
Whole flute day. Yeah, it's gonna be a great day. And did I forget anything? No. And you can also check our merch. The store, it's all in the links below. And I hope this was helpful. If you liked it, please like it. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and leave comments. We love your comments, and see you next time.